Rumors have been swirling around for days, but the first major trade just days before the MLB Trade Deadline has finally happened as the Arizona Diamondbacks are going all in and acquiring reliever AJ Puk in exchange for two of their top prospects who performed very well so far in the minor leagues, going over to the Miami Marlins. AJ Puk was originally tried out as a starter, which he was at the University of Florida and all throughout the Oakland A's minor league system before moving to a bullpen role for his time in the major leagues. That didn't work out this year starting, so he got moved back into the bullpen in a high leverage role and has performed pretty well since that move, and now goes over to Arizona to fulfill more high leverage innings, becoming another left-handed reliever option where right now Joe Mantiply was the only other lefty in that bullpen, giving the Diamondbacks a nice punch in high leverage situations, including Paul Sewald, a very young Justin Martinez, and now AJ Puk. For the Marlins, Peter Bendix continues to adjust what Kim Ng had built in Miami, continuing the teardown of the Major League roster to build up minor league prospects that fit his bill. He's acquiring both an infielder and an outfielder who can make an impact on the Major League team in 2025, maybe making the debut in 2026, but two players who have performed very well so far in the minor leagues and look to be two decent additions to a Marlins team that desperately needed some depth in their farm system. Before we begin, it'd obviously mean a lot if you could subscribe to the channel. You get more trade analysis like this when it drops, and you'll get more content from me, not only about trades, but other baseball things and from other really great YouTubers out there as well. Without further ado, let's dive into the first big trade of the 2024 trade deadline. AJ Puk has had an interesting path throughout Major League Baseball, being one of baseball's top prospects, coming in the Oakland A's organization after being drafted 6th overall out of the University of Florida, being a very strong left-handed starting option all throughout his minor league career, were falling out of favor in Oakland, moving to a bullpen role before finally being traded to Miami in the deal that sent JJ Bleday from Miami to Oakland. The Marlins did try him out as a starter, as I've already mentioned, to start 2024. It didn't work out. He didn't have the greatest peripheral numbers or just results in general, so they moved him back into the bullpen, where he's been an effective high-leverage arm for them and was someone who was maybe not at the top of the list of who the Marlins thought they would move, but someone who definitely had some interest from teams around the league, and because of his success and reliability as a late inning reliever, Puk provides some interesting options for the Diamondbacks as they look to actually go all in a division that seems to be not all theirs for the taking in an NL wildcard that is cluttered with other teams. After being a part-time closer by committee with Tanner Scott in 2023, he's taken a bat seat and serves as more of a setup reliever so far in 2024. He only has one save on the year, has only finished 4 games, but he has pitched in a lot of high-leverage situations. Currently, as of July 25th, he's 4-8 with a 4.30 ERA and a 9.2 strikeout per 9 ratio, which is decently high, but it's also the lowest of his career, which is something that is to be a little bit concerning about where he's done so far in 2024. However, it seems like this is more of bad luck than anything, as his fielding independent pitching, which looks at all outcomes and removes some variables that have some randomness like defense to it, has been consistent across his entire career, and his 2024 number of 3.62 is only 0.03 higher than it was in 2023 at 3.59. The biggest issue with Puk is, although he's having some similar underlying metrics like FIP throughout his entire career, it's obvious that his strikeout rate has dropped and his walk rate has risen significantly compared to past seasons. For example, between 2023 and 2024, his strikeout rate has dropped from 32.2% to 23.6%, meaning he's almost striking out 10% less batters than he did just a year prior, while his walk rate has risen from 5.4% to 12%, meaning he's walking more than twice as many batters as he did last year. High leverage relievers typically have higher walk rates, but they also couple that with a high strikeout rate, and the fact that those numbers have started to shift away from what you would like is something that's pretty concerning for AJ. That means that the Diamondbacks likely have an adjustment they think they can make that will have a positive impact on these numbers, but it's left to be seen exactly what he's going to do in the desert when he makes his arrival to Chase Field, likely tomorrow. However, it's not all bad for AJ. He has one of the lowest barrel percentages in the entire league, 3.3%, which is in the 96th percentile, and he extends very far off the mound, meaning hitters have less time to react. He's 94th percentile on that, and with a great 6-pitch mix of a fastball that averages about 95, a sweeper and a slider that occupy almost 2 completely different mile-per-hour brackets, a sinker that has a lot of break at the very end, and likes to sprinkle in a split finger and changeup every once in a while as well. A nice 6-pitch mix that Puk can use to go ahead and get batters out whenever he needs is something that a lot of teams can value, and if you maybe drop a pitch or you allow him to fine-tune 1 or 2 more of those, it's going to be a lot of potential for him to become an elite reliever once again, even though he's had some struggles so far in 2024. His contract is another area that has a lot of interest for the Diamondbacks and why fans should be excited about his addition. He has 3 more years of team control after this, meaning he won't be a free agent until 2027, which is an exciting aspect of what's going to happen. The other exciting aspect of this is that Puk has 3 years of team control left. That means that the Diamondbacks will have him until the end of 2027, where they hopefully should be entering their competitive window. They made the World Series last year, and although they have struggled so far in 2024, Puk will be able to be there for the long haul, and that's something that's incredibly valuable for a team that's looking to contend over a long period of time. With many relief options, such as another Marlins pitcher, Tanner Scott, only having 1 year of team control, only in 2024. This is it for them, only a quick rental. Puk adds a unique value to the Diamondbacks that he can contribute for a long time. That's probably why they're able to part with some of their more highly touted and more recognizable prospects, and prospects that have done very well so far in 2024, and be content that they're getting a player that's not only going to help them now, but also help them in years to come to potentially win a World Series, their first since 2001. The most highly regarded prospect going back to Miami in this deal is Deyvison de los Santos, a first baseman who was actually selected in the Rule 5 draft by the Cleveland Guardians, and after having a solid spring training, didn't end up making the 26-man roster and got returned back to Arizona, mostly because he's very young and he just wasn't ready to face major league talent, and with the Guardians looking to contend, it just didn't fit exactly what they wanted to do at first base. De Los Santos just turned 21 last month, and after signing for only $200,000 in the 2019 International Free Agency class, this is a great addition for the Diamondbacks to go ahead and send away in a package. They developed him, he turned out to be very good, and has the potential to go ahead and be a very solid player going forward for the Marlins. He's a power kind of guy. He makes a lot of hard contact, and although it does result in a lot of swing and miss, people love the home run, and De Los Santos can absolutely provide a lot of home run power. After putting together some solid numbers in 2023 at AA, he came back to start the year there in 2024 and absolutely tore it up in 38 games with an OPS above 1.1, which is just insane, an average close to 375. He was doing a phenomenal job, which prompted him to get the promotion to AAA, where he's put up similarly impressive numbers for a 21-year-old who was 20 for most of the season up till this point. With an OPS of 926 and 14 home runs in just 49 games, De Los Santos has done a very good job going ahead and hitting talent that's just one step away from the major league level. He is very young, so I don't expect him to go ahead and make his debut this year, but given that he has to be protected by the Marlins on their 40-man roster, else he will get taken in the Rule 5 draft again, and I don't think there's any hesitation that a team wouldn't take him this upcoming 2024 Rule 5 draft. He will be protected, will be added to the 40-man roster, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him make his Marlins debut sometime in 2025. There has been some talk that he could potentially play third base, but because of his limited field mobility and poor footwork, it seems more likely that he ends up at first base. He has the arm strength to potentially meet third base, but it makes sense that you're just going to have him play first, which is a little bit less valuable defensively, but when you have a guy who could potentially hit 25, 30 home runs in a year, you're more than happy to play him at first base. Again, his hit tool is a little lacking. He has some definite swing and miss in his game, and his running speed isn't phenomenal either, but he has the potential to be a very good player for the Marlins going forward, and frankly, that's what they need. Players that can fill roles, and although he might be a decent player, probably not a multi-time All-Star, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him have a couple very good seasons and maybe sneak in with a good first half and be an All-Star at some point. Outfielder Andrew Pintar, who was the 5th-round pick of the Diamondbacks in 2022 out of BYU, was also included in the AJ Puk deal. He's also had a very good start to 2024, and it seems to be that's kind of what the Marlins are going for, looking forward into the future, of players they might acquire as the trade deadline progresses and to continue to ship off names, potentially like Tanner Scott or Jazz Chisholm. He entered 2023 with a lot of people thinking he'd end up just being a super utility kind of guy, play all around the diamond, and just be able to benefit the team defensively and provide some okay offensive numbers. But he's really come onto his own so far in 2024 as he's stuck exclusively in center field despite having a somewhat weak arm, has performed very well and even saw an uptick in his power as he used to be just kind of a slap around guy, has now seen a big increase in his power output. After just hitting 2 home runs across 58 games in 2023, he's done very well in 2024, hitting 9 so far and has a OPS of 919 in 57 games at high A. He has struggled a little bit at AA, an average below 200 across 10 games. It's a small sample size, and he only made the jump, and a lot of people argue that the jump from high A to AA is the hardest to make in minor league baseball, and given that he still has time to go ahead and develop and mature before he's Rule 5 eligible in a year and a half, I think this is a great play for the Marlins. So getting someone who has the potential to really blossom into a solid 4th outfielder type, maybe even a starting center fielder you put at the bottom of the lineup. And for a team like the Marlins that doesn't have a ton of depth in their minor league system and could use a lot of players who could be solid contributors at the major league level, this is a nice piece that they can go ahead and add to, again, a weak farm system as they go ahead and try to rebuild under Peter Bendix. Pintar also has above average speed, which is incredibly valuable for an outfielder, especially if you're going to be coming off the bench, as you can come in late game situations. And he also covers a lot of ground because of that speed, even though he did break his ankle at the beginning of 2023. That really hasn't hindered his ability to swipe a bag. I wouldn't be shocked to see him steal 25-30 with these new stolen base rules if the Marlins allow him to be aggressive on the base pass. Pintar is not going to be a groundbreaking player. He has a below average hit tool. He's kind of tapped into some power and some good speed. A weak arm and some decent fielding, that's a recipe for a solid player, but he's not going to be groundbreaking most likely. Unless he can go ahead and tap into something that most scouts just don't see, he's going to be a solid player who can make some major league impact, but I don't see a super high ceiling on Pintar. I always love to be proven wrong, but based on the peripherals and what we see, it just doesn't seem he's going to be like a breakout star, but has the potential to contribute valuable innings and valuable at-bats to a major league team. Now that we've talked about the three players in this deal, let's give this trade some grades. For the Diamondbacks, I'm going to give this an A-. I think getting a reliever in AJ Puk who has 3 years of team control is incredibly valuable. It's something that for a team that should have their competitive window starting now, this is a great addition. With players like Corbin Carroll kind of stuttering along so far in 2024, if you hope he can break out of that sophomore slump and really come into his own, having Puk for the long haul is very, very valuable. I don't think they make the postseason even with the addition of AJ Puk so far in 2024. So this is a play that can help them if they do make the postseason this year, which we still have a lot of time left. And if they don't, they now have him for years to come as someone who can make an impact at the major league level as they go ahead and try and push their chips all in for a World Series either this year or in the coming years. This gives them a lot of flexibility, but I also don't think Puk is the best reliever on the market right now. I think they could have potentially gotten some better value. I'm a big fan of De Los Santos. I wonder how they could have adjusted this trade a little bit differently to potentially include him in their organization. Obviously, because he went unprotected in the Rule 5 draft in 2023, the Diamondbacks didn't value him super highly, which is something that should be noted. I'm not a major league or person. I do not run any organizations. They have a ton more information than I do and most people in the public. But it's still interesting to note, and I think because of his breakout in 2024, has a lot of intrigue and value to a Marlins team. Giving him up is a little tough, and because Puk has never been a super strong, dominant reliever, he's been good in high leverage, but not great. I do wonder what they're actually going to be able to do, and because they're not a super well-known pitching development organization like the Guardians or the Dodgers or the Rays, I do wonder exactly what their goal is and what they're going to try and tweak with AJ Puk to go ahead and get him to be a solid reliever for them. For the Marlins, I'm going to give this trade a B. I think De Los Santos is going to be a very good player. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but he's going to be a guy that Marlins fans, hopefully for a long time, will say he's a very good first baseman for us. We're happy to have him hitting in the 4, 5, 3, 6 hole, middle of the lineup kind of power bat, which has a lot of value to a team and a lot of value to a fan base that's looking for people to cling on to. The swing and miss is obviously a little bit scary. You don't want a guy who just goes and has a very high strikeout rate, but with power comes some sacrifices, and 84 strikeouts in 87 games isn't atrocious. It's just a little bit higher than what you'd like to see, but for a 21-year-old in AA and AAA to have that low of a strikeout ratio while being a power hitter is still impressive. It's still something that is incredibly valuable for a team, and is something that if I'm the Marlins, I'm saying we can go ahead and make this man our starting first baseman for the 6 to 7 years he is on our team under arbitration control. Granted, they don't trade him when he gets up there and is about to leave in free agency, but he could be a big piece that can really be built around if they're looking to go ahead and actually contend for a World Series for the first time in a very long time. This trade really starts to fall through a little bit when I look at Andrew Pintar. He definitely has the potential to be a player who can provide some value to the Marlins, but I don't see him ever becoming anything more than a player who could be a fourth outfielder. Yes, the Marlins don't need to go for high ceiling guys that can really blow them out of the water, but when your ceiling is really just a fourth outfielder and you're kind of teetering around there, that is your floor as well, just getting a guy who could potentially be a half WAR player his entire career per year, that's not something that really excites me, especially when you're trading away a controllable piece that you can go ahead and get a big return from another team potentially. Obviously, Pintar is a solid player. He wouldn't be playing in AA after just 2 years of being in the minor leagues without that. But he still has a lot of time to grow and develop into someone who could actually be a very good player at the major league levels. And granted, very good just could mean league average. I don't know if his offensive stats really are there yet, and I don't know if he's going to be able to provide a ton of value for the Marlins going forward. Of course, I'm not rooting for Pintar to fail, but I just don't see a ton of value here for the Marlins, and that's part of the hesitation. I think Arizona needs to tap into AJ Puk to really get the most out of him, and I'm sure the Marlins hope they can tap into Andrew Pintar and get the most out of him as well. And if both teams can do that, then this trade looks a little bit better for them. But without it, I think the Marlins got a low upside, high floor kind of guy who just isn't going to be a groundbreaking player. And obviously not every prospect can be, but for the Marlins, when you're so far out of a competing window, you might as well shoot for the stars now. And then when you go ahead and are a little bit closer to contending, you can get guys that are a little bit safer. And I feel like Pintar is a safe prospect. You kind of know who he is, and he's most likely not going to wow you with a super big breakout season. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, there'll be more like this for all the trades that happened this trade deadline season. So please go ahead, subscribe to the channel, and comment what you think is the winner of this trade. And I hope to see you in the very next video as we either talk about my next video posted or whatever crazy trade deadline deal decides to cross our screens next. And let's see what Jeff Passan has to say about that. Thank you again, and I hope to see you in the very next video.